Bloomington, the Iowa Hawkeyes meet the Indiana Hoosiers. And as always, in Bloomington, the visitors see a sea of red. Welcome, everybody, to Indiana. I'm Ted Robinson. We reached the halfway part of the Big Ten schedule today, and when you look at the standings, the importance of this game for both teams becomes magnified. Indiana is trying to keep up with Ohio State, the two teams that have separated themselves from the rest of the pack, while Iowa maintains a little bit of an edge on the other teams that are tightly bunched in the middle of the pack, all of whom are hoping to win enough games to get invited to the tournament. And Len Elmore, when you reach the halfway mark of a conference season, what does that mean for the coaches?
Well, certainly the coaches are going to try to refocus their team's eyes, try to set up that prize. Now, in January, conference play is new and exciting, but aches and pains and fatigue later. You get to February, and a coach has to set that goal in front, and that goal is to get into the tournament in March.
It's the first time Iowa and Indiana have met this year. For a look at how the matchup goes, we talked to some common opponent coaches.
I think that in the game, if Indiana has the same type of pressure on the ball that they've had in the past, they're going to have great success. By the same token, Iowa can really make people turn the ball over with their press and do a lot of great things with their center, A.C. Earl. He's going to be hard to cope with.
There are a lot of key matchups in my interesting basketball game. I think is Iowa great pressure against a fine Indiana, great perimeter skills. They have three great guards in Reynolds and Meeks and Bailey. Be able to handle that great pressure that Iowa's going to present today.
Len, what's Iowa's biggest concern today?
Well, certainly Calbert Chaney, Indiana's fine junior forward. His size and his quickness presents a great matchup problem for Iowa.
And for Indiana, is it A.C. Earl?
Well, A.C. Earl, the leading shot blocker in the Big Ten, one of the tops in the nation. He's a guy who really makes things happen in the lane, and I think Indiana's going to have to find a way to draw A.C. out of the hole.
Well, this may be the toughest place in America for a visiting team to win, and Iowa did it here last year. They go for 2 in a row when we come back to Bloomington in just a moment. Bloomington, Iowa, and Indiana. Iowa has won 4 consecutive games. Indiana lost its first Big Ten game last Saturday to Michigan State. Taking a look at the Iowa starters up front, A.C. Earl in the middle, James Moses, a senior, and Chris Street, who had a wonderful rebounding game here last year, alongside. The backcourt, Val Barnes, and the man Iowa feels is their key, their point guard, Kevin Smith. And Tom Davis kneeling in the midst of his Iowa Hawkeye huddle. The Indiana starters. Eric Anderson, Alan Henderson, the freshman who has not started much in recent weeks, gets back in the lineup today along with Calbert Chaney. And the backcourt, Jamal Meeks will replace Chris Reynolds as a starter today along with Damon Bailey. And Bob Knight. Closing in on 500 victories at Indiana, 10 conference titles. Interesting that Reynolds, who has played so well, Len, for Indiana, as you look at the officiating trio assigned by the Big Ten Conference for this game. Chris Reynolds has played so well for Indiana during the conference, yet today Jamal Meeks gets the start.
Well, Chris Reynolds is a great defensive player, as is Meeks, but I have a feeling that when it comes down to having some experience in a situation like this, Meeks, the senior, is going to get the nod, but I'm sure Reynolds is going to be in there as early as Bobby Knight can get him.
Calbert Chaney has picked up his scoring lately. Indiana wants him to shoot more and score more, and he has. And Henderson will jump against A.C. Earl. From deep in the corner. That goes out over the top of the backboard, but that's immediately a difference for Indiana, the point guard putting up the first shot.
Well, Iowa would love to see that more often. What you expect Iowa's defense to do is pack it back in, but play the three-point shooters, except for a guy like Meeks.
Meeks playing Moses. Inside it goes, and the shot is put in by Val Barnes. First points to Iowa. Henderson. Alan Henderson gets the first points for Indiana. Freshman who is coming back from a bout with a strep throat. Strong move by Street, but Henderson rips the rebound away. Chaney going in. Oh, and Earl got a miss of that, and it still went in. It was a goaltend, but the basket went in anyway.
Well, Ted, you're seeing right now under control Indiana with the rebound. They want to get out and run, utilize their quickness advantage, particularly with Calbert Cheney, who in the open floor is as tough as they come. With his size and his quickness, he presents a great problem for Iowa.
Iowa's first 2 trips down the floor has had very good shots. Third one in here to Earl in good position. And Earl is fouled.
Well, A.C. Earl is going to be a marked man as far as Indiana's concerned. When he gets the ball inside, Indiana's going to be looking for help. There'll be considerable drop-off on guys like Smith who are going to drop in. The Indiana defenders are going to drop in on Earl.
Long rebound to Street. When Iowa won here last year in overtime, Street had 7 offensive rebounds. Rebound tip to Barnes.
Lucky tip in Iowa's favor, but you saw Jamal Meeks drop totally off of Smith to help out.
Bailey handling the ball up top for Indiana. Put some pressure on Bailey. He did not score at Michigan State last Saturday. The 3 misses, and it's saved by Anderson. But Henderson can't catch the pass, and here's an Iowa break. Wild shot by Smith, and Bailey out with it. Anderson. Oh, Indiana running and finishing.
Well, that time A.C. Earl, in an effort to get back while backpedaling, slipped and fell on his fanny. It left a wide open area for Anderson. But Indiana wants to run. They want to run, but they want to run under control.
Moses and all Indiana on the boards. And a reach in from behind. Val Barnes called. The first Iowa foul.
We're going to take a look at A.C. Earl right there, number 55, on the floor. And there's really no goaltender back there. Earl is the anchor of the Iowa defense. He has to make sure he gets under that basket in that hole to protect.
And as most good teams want to do to a shot blocker, Indiana says they want to go right at Earl.
Iowa now is in a 1-3-1 zone, and they're going to make sure that they try to get some pressure on the shooters, but obviously not enough.
And Bailey drains the 3, and Indiana has opened up a 5-point lead.
Look at how Indiana extends the defense. Iowa's starting their offense further out. Bailey and Meeks both doing a nice job of trying to deny the pass back to the guards.
Troy Skinner's in the game quickly for Iowa, replacing Smith, the point guard. Moses almost lost his dribble. Tough shot for Moses. And Eric Anderson clears it.
We can see that Indiana's point of emphasis was on rebounding. When they lost Iowa last year, rebounding was a problem for them. Today, they're doing a nice job of fundamentals, blocking out.
And there's a good rebound by Henderson, and A.C. Earl shows you why he is leading the Big Ten in shot blocking for the 3rd consecutive year.
And Earl does a great job of anticipating. Not only does he come to all penetration and follows the ball, but he doesn't jump into players. Watch Earl on the left of your screen. He pretty much goes straight up. The only thing he could do better when he blocks that shot is to keep it in play, give his teammates a chance to start the break.
Earl is now out of the game, and James Winters is in for Iowa. The Hawkeyes don't substitute quite as frantically as they have in prior seasons under Tom Davis. Going with an 8-man rotation.
I said the reason I was playing this zone in an extended period of time is because they very much fear Indiana's cutting ability and ability to read defenses. And the zone stops a lot of those cuts.
And Indiana shoots the ball from the outside as well as anybody in the country, and Bailey has drained 2 threes.
Well, it was a second chance opportunity that gave Bailey the shot.
8 straight Indiana points. And up tight, that aggressive on-ball defense draws a foul against Meeks. His first and the second on Indiana. But the Hoosiers have scored 8 straight. And at our first time out, Indiana leads by 8. offensive rebounding.
Well, the point of emphasis on both boards is to get your opportunity, limit Iowa to 1 and get second chance opportunities. Here, Henderson with a nice job, and you see the result, Damon Bailey with a 3.
There's the massive difference already for Indiana.
And they've got 3 offensive rebounds and 7 points off of those offensive rebounds.
So Val Barnes has scored all of Iowa's points. Drains that jumper for 2. Wade Lookingbill is in the game for Iowa. No changes for Indiana.
Iowa in three-quarter court pressure. Still testing Indiana, testing their ability to handle the press, but not really going for the steal.
Cheney. Another rebound, almost snared by Anderson, but it's out of bounds to Iowa.
So Iowa's got to look for more distribution offensively. Indiana does a nice job, as I mentioned before, of overplaying the passing lanes, forcing the offense further out than Iowa would normally like. So that's what you have to do, as Skinner does, handle the ball.
Into Winters, and Winters is fouled on the baseline.
Now, Ted, when I talk about handle the ball, I mean rather than try to hit the wing, you clear that person out and you dribble it and get it in position yourself.
It's interesting, Len, because Skinner is not the quickest player, and going against Meeks, it would not seem to be a very beneficial matchup for Iowa. But he's in there early for Smith. That's out of bounds to Indiana.
That time was just a great help situation by Cheney and by Anderson inside. Once the penetration gets into the lane area, Indiana's collapsing.
Indiana has had great success shooting free throws. And they have not gotten to the line yet. It's been a lot of outside shooting. Nice penetration by Bailey, and they'll get their first free throws from Alan Henderson. All set up by Damon Bailey.
Indiana very patient offensively against the zone. Excellent ball movement, and when the opportunity presents itself, now you're in the middle of the Iowa camp, and what that does is create a lot of pressure on the back line. They've got to go to the penetration. Indiana's getting their cutters to those seams, and guys like Damon Bailey are finding them.
It's interesting, Len. Now, Indiana doesn't have a classic big man in the middle. They don't have a classic low-post player. Why do they shoot so many free throws?
Well, I'll tell you, it's a question of quickness and certainly movement without the ball. If you notice, most times the Indiana big guys are never set up on the block. They're always cutting, flashing to the lane. And that puts a lot of pressure on the defense. The defense gets there late and you're ready to make the move.
Henderson 1 out of 2 from the foul line. 13-6, Indiana. And Smith back in the game now for the Hawkeyes. Moses, Earl, Lookingbill, and Street. Moses going in, and that's shot. Swatted down by Henderson. Seeing some off-balance shooting by Iowa so far.
Well, they really can't get set because of the defense of Indiana. They're constantly in their face.
Now Anderson turns it back. It was 2 on 3.
Anderson's shooting ability is drawing A.C. Earl further away from the basket.
Oh, look at Bailey. Fine punch, and then Earl stripped it away, but could not get the handle, and Indiana will keep it.
Iowa's certainly having trouble rebounding defensively against this zone. Indiana doing a great job of getting to the openings because you can't really block a guy out when you're playing a zone.
Now the first changes for the Hoosiers. Matt Nover and Greg Graham are in. Bailey and Henderson leave. A loud cheer. And Graham, who's matured so well as an offensive threat for Indiana.
That was a mature judgment, seeing A.C. Earl behind him to get out of there.
Over inside. Oh, look at Earl. Sends that one in the backcourt. Oh, and Meeks touched the ball. Meeks caught there in the middle. Decided to let it go out, but he touched it.
For all you young players at home, perfect example. When you have the opportunity to save the ball, regardless of whom it is gone, you got to save it.
Three down low to Street. No, a travel. No basket. Look at Earl's second block of the game.
Right here, Nova with the pump fake, but Earl recovered very quickly. He had almost like a two-step jump, and the second jump was very quick. Even though you fake him out, he still regains position. Great shot block.
Nova again, and Earl another time sends it back.
Nova's got to time that better. Once he's in the air, go up. Don't wait for him to come down.
But here's Earl, 3 block shots and no fouls. And now Earl is fouled as Indiana reaching in at the ball. There were a lot of white shirts around him, Link.
Well, certainly, we talked about at the beginning of the telecast, A.C. Earl's going to draw a lot of attention down on the blocks. And Indiana recognizing that when an Iowa player clears out of the area, they're going to keep people down there to double Earl.
Looking Bill out. Val Barnes back. We played almost 8 minutes. Iowa has 3 field goals. They've all been by Val Barnes. Talking about playing in this building this year, Indiana has blown out a lot of teams in here, and their defense has been suffocating.
Look at the battle with Earl. The left side of your screen still can't get free. 2 and 3 guys. Look at Chaney peeling down from the top to try to dissuade Iowa from throwing that lob pass.
Finally into Earl, and Anderson challenges him, but Street follows.
A little bit of A.C. Earl's own medicine, Eric Anderson.
Good long bounce pass, and Nova takes it in. Oh, how frustrating. Iowa working 40 seconds to get a hoop, and they give it right back in transition.
Well, it's tough when you give up an easy basket, as you mentioned, after working hard. But Iowa's had to send a lot of people to the board because they haven't been able to hit the shots, and it leaves them vulnerable to the fast break.
15-8 Indiana. We have a foul down low as Earl is being tangled up with Anderson and Nova, and it's the foul on Anderson. 5 team fouls on Indiana. 9 minutes into the game, the Hoosiers lead 15-8. And let's watch A.C. Earl get bumped down low.
All right, we're going to take a look right here. Watch the physical play underneath. Indiana pointing their defense towards stopping Earl. But Earl does a nice job. He's very mature. Rather than push back, rather than use his elbows to push off, he patiently tries to get position, and he finally gets the call.
Iowa's again. Team fouls right now, 2 against Iowa, 5 against Indiana.
Substitution, it's number 44, Alan Henderson.
The Hawkeyes have made only 4 of 14 shots so far.
And you have to credit the Indiana defense with that, the overplay, and getting the hands up on the shots.
A good chance off the inbounds. Now it's Greg Graham. And Street with the defensive rebound. Now he's going right in. Oh, and Henderson stripped the ball from him, but it went right to James Moses.
It's a nice job by Street recognizing the opening, and even if he doesn't get the shot up, he makes something happen.
So for the first time in the game now, we see a little bit more of the traditional Iowa pressure.
Well, you got to score before you press, and Iowa has had trouble. Those baskets have been few and far between.
Now comes in quickly to Nova. Oh, and he throws it behind Greg Graham. Turnover.
Well, you got to give part of the blame, obviously, to Nova for not being sure of the pass. But Greg Graham, where is he going when the ball is thrown? You know, you got to be sure you've got possession, particularly against the pressure.
Chris Reynolds in for the first time for Indiana, 21 in white. He is guarding James Moses.
See, look at the overplay. Look how far out Iowa has to start their offense, near the half-court line. That's because Indiana's doing a great job of overplaying.
Now A.C. Earl got called down low.
I see, you can't give a guy a compliment. I just said he was mature and not using his arms to push off. And look what you did to me, AC.
His first personal, team's third.
The Iowa people rave, Len, about how well he stays out of foul trouble, especially for a shot block.
And he doesn't get those cheap fouls.
So he got out of the way there. He stepped right away and let Nova lay it in.
Indiana, they're not afraid. They're going to take it to A.C. when the opportunity presents itself.
7-point Hoosier lead as we're under 10 minutes in the half.
See, Ted, Earl breaks open inside, and Iowa's looking for him, but the pressure defense doesn't give the passers a good view of A.C. Earl open.
Earl turned right into a double team that was coming from Henderson, and Henderson is called for his second foul and the 6th on Indiana.
Well, Henderson did a nice job of responding.
Upsetting Sweden, the pre-Olympic favorites in their last preliminary game. Later today, all coming up on CBS. Earl, a 63% foul shooter. Looking still for his first point. As Bob Knight, a little glare at the officials. And now James Winters in for Earl.
Look for Indiana to really now start attacking that basket. Once they beat the first wave of pressure, now they have an advantage break, 3-on-2.
Randall Reynolds, and that one is blocked. But Winters, who is the big leaper on the Iowa team, at 6'5", got up there, but he'll be called for the foul.
You beat the first wave of pressure, and now you get your advantage break. Here Indiana with a 3-on-2. A nice job of drawing the defenders and trying to get the layup. I tell you, pretty good block. There was a little bit of contact. I bet if that were A.C. Earl, who has a shot blocking reputation, he gets away with that one.
2, let's go. Hands up, let's go.
Reynolds at the line. Now, you see shot blockers will always tell you they get called for more fouls because of it. Right? Didn't that happen to you, Len?
Well, if you're new, you're a trailblazer. Many times you don't get the benefit. Guys like A.C. Earl, they should thank the shot blockers from the past who blazed the trail for them.
Now, Reynolds is not a statistically very good foul shooter. 54%, made 2 free throws there. And this is Indiana's largest lead now. 9.5 to play.
So Indiana's switching on the guards. Whenever the guards cross, they're switching players, and it makes it doubly tough to get the ball to them trying to start the offense.
Bose is backing Reynolds right in the lane. Hits the turnaround. Oh, that early 8-point run by Indiana got them the lead, but Iowa has stayed with them since. Bailey and over. Foul before, and that's the 3rd foul on James Winters. That's going to eliminate one player from Tom Davis's rotation for the rest of the half.
And Winters is an aggressive player, as you mentioned, a great leaper, but he's been called on some very close calls. Now, the situation with IU, Indiana, they're doing a nice job against the Iowa zone of getting someone inside the lane. Normally, that's not going to happen against the zone, and the reason you don't want it to happen is because so many things are created, and Bailey did a nice job of creating something.
It's 5 fouls on Indiana. 5 fouls on Iowa, 6 on Indiana. Bailey. Damon Bailey's 3rd three-pointer of the first half.
Good discretion by Anderson. He could have gone one-on-one with Earl, but he found an open man. It's the better part of valor, right?
Earl, they never put the ball down. Anderson stuffed him, and that is a held ball. Possession arrow to Iowa. Well, Indiana stood right in there against Earl today, Len.
Well, the fans believe this is a moral victory. The leading shot blocker in the conference gets his own shot blocked a couple of times by a guy not known for it.
Inbounds lost by Iowa. Reynolds. Charging foul. No basket. Charging foul on Reynolds.
Well, as I mentioned, Indiana really looking to attack the basket every opportunity they have to run under control. That time, Chris Reynolds took off, and the defender was set prior to the airborne player taking off the ground, and the foul was called. Good call by the official.
Evan Smith got there. Now he delivers it inside the street. Street muscles it in.
Ted, yesterday, Tom Davis told us that one of the things he's worried about is his team folding it in if Indiana goes on a run. They've got to withstand this crowd.
And they've got to withstand some outstanding shooting. Graham hits a 3. Indiana is a 41% three-point shooting team, and now Reynolds with a steal. And a long rebound to Graham. And Bailey. Bailey hits his 4th three-pointer of the half, and Indiana has blown it open to 13. And now you face the problem of playing in this cavernous building with loud and red.
Well, it's a game of poise and confidence, and Iowa's poise and confidence is going to be tested right now.
And good block from behind as Graham spiked that one out of the hands of Val Barnes. A 13-5 run and a deafening cheer in Bloomington.
Introducing United Airlines' renowned international service to cities throughout Latin America. Come fly the airline that's uniting the world. Come fly the friendly skies.
This is dedicated to the one I love.
Deep in the cold heart of winter, you can make it warm. This Valentine's Day, remember them all with an 800 call. It's AT&T. Fast, convenient, and free. Call if you need an 800 number for flowers or candy or anything dandy.
This is dedicated to the one I love.
In weather this raw, don't take chances with chapped lips. Take Chapstick. Chapstick lip balm is serious medicine, made to help chapped lips heal fast and healthy lips stay healthy. This winter, don't take chances. Take Chapstick.
This Valentine's Day, make sure you send your sweetheart the FTD flower basket bouquet. Oh, and make sure you send it a day or two early, because as Cupid says, if your sweetheart misses out...
It's as easy as FTD.
The white zone is for immune.
We didn't design the new Mazda MX-3 to be like apple pie. Jalapenos were what we had in mind. Because if something's not worth having an opinion about it, it's not worth having. And with the only V6 in its class, the MX-3 is one hot chili pepper. Hey, you're not John Doe. Why drive his car? The new MX-3 from the new Mazda.
It just feels right!
Lead. Just over 7 minutes to play in the half, and taking a look at our game summary, Damon Bailey's points have all come on three-point shots, and Indiana keeping up. That's what Iowa said they were going to let him do, and Indiana's burning him on it.
Well, what's happening is in the zone, there's only one guy to protect the area where Damon Bailey is to shoot. And more importantly, though, Indiana's doing a great job on the defensive boards, and then they're getting out and attacking the offense, as we saw by the number of break points, 12 fast break points.
A.C. Earl with an awkward shot up to Reynolds. And Earl getting back to rebound the miss. Oh, and Reynolds goes hopping up into the seats to try and save a pass.
See, as far as I'm concerned, that's a guard problem. Smith has got to step up to a point where there's no Indiana defender between him and A.C. Earl.
That was the first rebound of the game for Earl, who has 1 point, 3 blocks. Inside, and Jay Webb, who's in for the first time, is going to be called. That big man's dilemma. He got caught in there trying to wrestle the rebound away from Damon Bailey.
Well, and they're always, Iowa's getting to the ball late on the offensive boards. You establish a position, and you didn't wait for your teammate to shoot. What we're seeing is the Iowa guys flying in at the last minute after Indiana's already established position.
Webb's first foul. Skinner is back in, looking Bill. Barnes and Earl. The 5 for Iowa. Reynolds and Graham, the guards for Indiana. Cheney, Bailey, Anderson. Greg Graham. Oh, Cheney in with the left hand.
And I'll tell you, it's the extra pass that Indiana's making against the zone that's forcing a 2- and 3-man overload in an area where Iowa only has 1 man, and thus they get the open shot.
Inside, Eric Anderson called for a bump against Earl. That will put A.C. Earl on the line. With Len Elmore, Ted Robinson at Assembly Hall in Bloomington. Big Ten battle between Indiana and Iowa. Iowa won here last year on a tip-in at the buzzer with James Moses, but this year the start has been all Hoosiers.
And it's been a case of Indiana executing their game plan, getting out and running when they have the opportunity, overplaying and forcing Iowa out of their offensive set and keeping the ball, for the most part, away from this man, A.C. Earl.
That is one solid rim that withstood a pretty serious rattle on that foul shot.
You tried to say A.C. Earl's shot was a bit heavy.
Bit heavy.
If we were in England, I guess they would have measured it by stones, right?
No chance on that one, and it's rebounded by Chaney. And look how quickly Indiana gets the ball up.
Well, the idea is to keep the zone from getting set, to always have them in a state of flux, and then move the ball to find the open man. Thus far, they've done a great job.
Greg Tubbs is in for the Hawkeyes for the first time. So Tom Davis has gone deeper into his bench than he would like to. Chaney with the left hand. Well, they had Scott May talk to him, an old teammate of yours, Mike Woodson, talked to him, told Chaney, shoot more.
Those are two good guys to tell him to shoot. You know, I know Mike Woodson, when we played together, he had to put his arm in a bucket of ice night after night, but he's a great scorer.
16-point lead for Indiana. 5:20 in the half. Not for a fake from Barnes. He drives inside and going to be called for a foul. Well, that was pretty good defense. Damon Bailey did not bite at all on Val Barnes' attempt to get him up in the air.
Well, Indiana, as I said, they're executing defensively very well. They're staying on their feet, just keeping their hands up, which a smart defender will do on the ball. But more importantly, Iowa's becoming frustrated. They can't get the ball where they want because of the overplaying IU defense. And then when they handle it, they get in trouble because then they get double teamed, and they really don't know what to do with it once they are doubled.
7th foul on Iowa. Reynolds knocks down the front end of a 1-and-1. But right now you have a situation where Indiana has blown some very good teams out in this arena this year. They beat Minnesota by 41 here. They beat Purdue by better than 40 points. It's their most intense rival. We have an Iowa team that can rip points off quickly. 15 straight against Michigan State Thursday night to win a game. Right now Indiana leads by 17.
But Iowa can come back at you in a hurry, and they use their defense to key that, and three-point shooting. They're not a great three-point shooting team, but they do shoot in streaks.
Moses gets their first 3 of the game. Left wing corner's been open for Indiana. Chaney missing. Bailey almost going to steal that rebound from Street. Good spot. Skinner to Looking Bill.
Well, that time, Iowa did a little bit of Indiana's tune and rushed the ball so the defense wasn't set.
Graham has it roll off the iron, and Chaney saves it. Out of bounds, and it's off Indiana. Chaney can't believe the call, but it will be Iowa ball.
I'll tell you, Earl did a great job on the last time down defensively. Not going after the shot, but just standing there looking to take the charge, and that was enough to throw Graham off.
Here's a big possession when if Iowa could score here, they'd have put together a little bit of a run. Winding down to 4 minutes in the half.
And psychologically, it does a lot for them because they get it to within 10. And somehow or another, that's a magic number when you're coming from behind.
Skinner, good shooter. Missing the 3. Looking Bill keeps it alive over Bailey. Oh, and his pass stolen. And then Skinner got away with a grab as Greg Graham goes in for the slam.
Well, that's what I talked about, the darting Indiana defense. Even when there's a quick change of possession, they're ever ready to make the transition to defense, and Graham did that.
Moses, tough shot. Earl, offensive rebound, and A.C. Earl will get back to the line.
Talk about presence of mind. You take a look right here. Graham getting out there as quickly as he possibly could.
Personal foul, Indiana.
It wasn't a very heady play by looking, though, but you still have to give Graham an awful lot of credit. Again, overplaying the passing areas. It's plays like that that's going to force Iowa to think as they start running their offense. And that's exactly what you want to do, get a team to think rather than react.
Indiana's had 3 games this year, Len, where they have had more steals than turnovers. That's an amazing accomplishment.
Well, you know that whoever makes the turnover for the Hoosiers has to come back and answer to the bench. So I think that's good enough incentive not to give the ball up.
Seated right in front of Bob Knight, Norm Ellenberger, longtime New Mexico coach, and one of Knight's assistants. Warren is now 2 out of 6 from the foul line. That exchange does not help Iowa's comeback cause here. 3:10 to go in the half. And Bailey hits. 14 for Damon Bailey. And then nearly a steal. Indiana playing at a high level. And they're swarming over the Hawkeyes, leading by 16. Three minutes to halftime here at Bloomington, Indiana in command. And coming up at the half on CBS, we'll send it to Jim Nantz and Andrea Joyce for a report from the 1992 Winter Olympics in France. The first full day of competition taking place, and we'll hear about it all coming up at the half on CBS. Now, Tom Davis's team felt a lot of their key today was going to be how Kevin Smith, their sophomore point guard, fared against Indiana's great combination of Reynolds and Meeks. And right now, Indiana's guards are winning that battle.
Certainly, and Indiana's guards scored 22 points. Iowa's only 6. And Iowa's guards have to be able to hit on a consistent basis from the outside if they're going to get any inside game. And right now, Indiana's just capable of taking the game away by overplaying, cutting off the lanes, and then sloughing off inside, as we saw there. Street with no place to go.
Ball is never safe against Indiana. Street, offensive rebound, and he'll get back to the line. Now, if Indiana's had a weakness this year, Len, they've been burned by big men of other teams. Wardan of St. John's, Mashburn of Kentucky. And in the conference, Poplawski, Michigan State, had a big game against him last week. And it hasn't happened yet. AC Earl hasn't had that dominant type of a first half.
Well, I think that Indiana recognized when Poplawski had that game against him, that was the real big straw that broke the camel's back, because they seem to have made an adjustment. They found a way to find the weak perimeter shooters and slough off.
And Barnes will be fouled, and he'll go back to the line. No basket. So Iowa gets 1 point at the line and 2 more free throws coming up for Val Barnes. Indiana is now at the 10 foul mark.
The personal foul is number 20.
And Earl coming back.
2 shots.
First foul on Bailey.
Barnes in the line.
Hey, right from man to man. Let's go.
Barnes has been slowed by a painful big toe problem in recent games.
But he has scored well. He scored in double figures in 7 of the last 9 games that they've played. And he's the kind of guy that if Iowa can get a transition game going, get some fast breaks, he can burn you in transition with a 3. That's what Iowa's going to need to come back at least a little bit before half.
13-point lead for Indiana. With that much time remaining in the half. Meeks, Graham, and Bailey, Nover, and Chaney. That's the 3-guard offense for Indiana.
If you look at AC Earl, he's playing almost a one-man zone. When Nover goes out to set picks, Earl stays in the lane area.
It is something to watch Indiana's motion on offense. The players are constantly moving. And Chaney missing. Long rebound to Bailey. Nice dunk inside to Greg Graham.
Well, that's what makes them such a fine offensive rebounding team. That constant movement without the ball gets them positioned.
And Bailey inside, fouled again, and he really, Earl and Nova were really tussling inside.
We're going to take a look right here. Chaney with no one on him, but again, the movement, you see the Indiana players, they're already set for the offensive rebound in comparison to the Iowa players who come flying in at the end. Watch again, the ball goes up. You have guys in the lane area. Greg Graham with a nice job getting there on the pass from Damon Bailey.
Indiana's Nover commits his second foul, but fouling Earl in this first half hasn't hurt Indiana.
Well, you know, A.C. Earl was working on that when we watched him yesterday. And it's just a question of concentration. He's a kid who's improved so much, as we'll talk about later. And that's one area where it's easy to improve, provided you give forth the effort.
Bailey hitting again for 2. 16 first half points for Damon Bailey. Smith with a high archer, and there's Earl pulling it down for 2.
Somehow or another, A.C. Earl has decided that the way he's going to score is to get the ball off the backboard, and he's getting set, as I mentioned before.
That was his first basket, slapped away from behind. Kevin Smith made that play for Iowa. Last minute. Barnes, nice dump off to Earl, and a traveling call. Okay, the players are looking around. They're not sure whether it was Barnes who walked or Earl.
Well, certainly on the penetration, it's something that Iowa would like to see more of, and as they put the ball on the floor and start to make an attack of their own in the basket, they're going to get that.
3 on 2. Graham in. Earl says not today. Fourth block by Earl.
Look at Bailey having to guard Earl, and he turns around and looks for help.
Street crashing in again, and a foul on Damon Bailey. Well, Iowa's aggressiveness on the offensive boards paying off.
Personal foul.
Well, CBS Sports coverage of the 16th Olympic Winter Games will continue later today from Hill. Pairs figure skating will be featured on CBS Sports, continuing coverage of the 16th Olympic Winter Games. Street makes both foul shots. The foul was Damon Bailey's second. And now Tom Davis makes a defensive change. Tubbs and Lookingbill come in. 37 seconds in the half, and Iowa has it down to 11.
It's a couple of kamikaze guys looking for that last opportunity at a steal, also to kind of rest going into the locker room some of his key people.
Shot clock off. Into Nover. Graham. Bailey's going to have, nope, went right through his hands out of bounds. Looked like Graham was going to have to shoot it.
But you got to give A.C. Earl all the credit. When the ball was picked up, he stood there. Each guy looked at him and had to think about it, and consequently the turnover was made, but it was all A.C. Earl.
Number 14.
Iowa has 3 seconds. The ball in backcourt. They bring Street into inbound. Lobbing it for Earl. And that one does not count, and the half comes to an end. Indiana led by as many as 17. Instead, they lead by 11 at the half. James Brown will be along with Prudential at the half from France after this word and a message from your local station. Indiana has led this game since the first moments, and they lead by 11 over Iowa at the half. Damon Bailey made all 4 of his three-point shots in the first half, 16 overall. Last weekend, when Indiana lost at Michigan State, he did not score, and Indiana had the expected edge from three-point range.
Well, certainly Iowa was willing to give up something, and that's what they were willing to live or die with.
Break points, Indiana did a nice job of finishing.
Certainly they've been attacking. Every opportunity they have, they're pushing the ball up the floor. They've found some openings and capitalized.
There's Damon Bailey, who was the freshman of the year in the Big Ten Conference last year. He's up to 12.5 points a game this year, and already to 16 today.
And he's living up to some great expectations. Bob Knight saw him in the 8th grade and thought that he might be one of the best basketball players in the country by the time he was a senior. And certainly he's made that progress.
Yet there was a time in the non-conference this year when Bob Knight benched Bailey and Calbert Cheney and Eric Anderson. Benched them all from the starting lineup.
Well, I tell you, you go back in history, and a lot of Indiana graduates are friends of mine, and there's not one star who hasn't been benched some point in his career with Bob Knight.
Kind of a rite of passage. Rimming it out from Cheney, and A.C. Earl pulls it down. Well, here Iowa can knock it down into single digits with a basket.
IU, Indiana still with the overplay, still forcing the offense way out.
Smith went in and got trapped, and Bailey to Henderson.
That's how you wear a team down. Make them work on offense and then get the quick opportunity, fast break on the other end.
Blocked by Henderson. Moses right back with it. Good perseverance by James Moses. Moses now with 9 points is the leading Iowa scorer.
See, Iowa has to do one thing at a time. I think their first chore is to make sure IU or Indiana gets only one shot.
That was a tough pass. Had a lot of arms to get through. And Anderson rebounds Barnes' miss. Now Reynolds pushing it. He starts the second half instead of Meeks. Now look at that ball. And David Bailey hits another three.
That was dangerously close to a 3-second violation, but very unselfish play by Chris Reynolds, giving up a sure layup for a 3.
Bailey is 5 out of 5 three-point range, and all of them have been very still set shots. There's another break. Henderson put that pass out maybe a bit too early, and Smith tipped it away.
Well, Henderson at 6'9", and he's just a freshman leading the fast break. He wanted to get rid of it real quickly, get it back to the guard who could do something with it. Now, we talked about Chris Reynolds having a layup. Watch number 21. He passes off. Now, he's running right under the basket. Cheney finds him, and a sure layup, but he throws it back outside to Bailey for the three-pointer.
And A.C. Earl was right on his back.
Well, he thought about it. I'm sure he had nightmares of a shot getting blocked on national TV.
Cheney to Bailey. And a third chance for Indiana. And Anderson fouls there. So Anderson commits his third personal foul. First of the half against Indiana.
Bobby Knight a little incensed at that call, but that was a pretty good call. Anderson went after the ball, but he caught a lot of arm. We could see that from up here. I think that's part of priming the officials if you need them down the stretch. Knight a master of doing that.
Skinner looking Bill in the game quickly for Iowa. Looking Bill up. Wade looking Bill. A 12-point lead for Indiana.
Said you can sense the crowd rising a little bit. They know that Indiana has been unable to put Iowa away. And they also know Iowa's capability of scoring in bunches.
And a rare foul on Earl. Will send Cheney to the line. So Earl's second personal foul. And near the conclusion of today's game, we'll select free throws. Cheney will get to the line for the first time today.
I'll handle, fellas.
Both of these teams, Indiana and Iowa, both have made more free throws this year than their opponents have attempted.
And if you look at them, except maybe for A.C. Earl, I mean, there's not really the conventional big man on either team in which to pound the ball down inside, but it's a question of quickness and movement, getting the ball to the basket, getting in good position that's going to draw a foul. And Indiana particularly has done that well today.
Earl is being played by Anderson inside. He's fighting and fighting. He finally gets the ball. But as Keenan doesn't go, and Street pulls it down for the Hawkeyes. That time Earl couldn't catch it. And it's out of bounds to Iowa.
I'll tell you what's happening. When Earl receives the ball, he's not very strong in his upper body. And so Indiana is bumping him a little bit down low, Anderson particularly, and that's forcing Earl to kind of fumble the ball, at least not to square to the basket.
There's Troy Skinner. Number 11. From Palmer, Iowa. Population 262. great achievement he's made to raise himself to the level of a Big Ten player, and he hits a three. Bailey will miss, and high. Good rebound there by Chris Street.
Well, Iowa looks to benefit from that short cold streak by Damon Bailey. He's missed his last two.
Street up, blocked by Henderson. Street wants the foul.
But that was a force. You don't reward a force with a foul.
Chaney lost it. And Street looks like he's running out of gas a little bit. And the ball's going to go out of bounds to Indiana when we come back. The Hoosiers still have their halftime margin intact. Indiana coach Bob Knight is an avid reader and is particularly of military history. There is a very old book that he thinks is very profound.
And that book is called The Art of War. It's a compilation of ancient Chinese philosophy and civil and martial arts. And you can certainly apply that to basketball. Here's one thing that's coming true. When they come out, you go home. And when they go home, you come out. Indiana's done a fine job of packing it in when Iowa's not able to hit the outside shots, and certainly going out and harassing them on the perimeter when they attempt to get some perimeter shooting. Iowa's only made 3 perimeter jumpers all afternoon.
Bob Knight was disgusted as Bailey switched his pivot foot there and was called for traveling. Iowa again with a chance to knock it under 10. Had, I think 4 possessions now in this half where they've had a chance to get it under 10.
New clock, new shot clock.
James Winters is back in the game for Iowa after sitting out a large part of that first half with 3 fouls.
Count.
Moses. Long rebound, Chaney.
We had an opportunity to see 4 Indiana white shirts in that lane for the rebound. So Indiana pretty much staying home as Iowa tries to go out.
Be it Reynolds or Meeks, the Indiana point guards just don't shoot that often. There he goes. And Reynolds hits it.
And take that, Ted Robinson.
And Bobby Knight has said that, you know, we can't play 4-on-5 all the time. And they want Reynolds and Meeks to shoot a little bit.
Particularly in a situation where you're attacking a defense. You got to be a threat, as Looking Bill is here.
Looking Bill come off the bench to chip in with 6 points. 12-point lead for the Hoosiers. Henderson, look at Iowa just swarming, trying to tackle him like he's a running back, and Iowa does the job and comes out with the football, but Kevin Smith comes hobbling out of that pileup and will have to leave the game.
Substitutions, number 11, Troy Skinner in for Smith.
Smith going right down to the end of the bench, and Troy Skinner, who's played many more minutes than Iowa originally had thought he would today. Skinner's back in.
And just as Iowa's trying to make a run, they have to go with Skinner, who's a pretty good ball handler, but he's got Chris Reynolds, who's probably one of the best defensive guards in the Big Ten. You can bet that Indiana's going to try to step up the pressure with a point guard who's not as accustomed to playing as Skinner.
Street now playing at the low post. Street is fouled by Henderson. So Henderson commits his 3rd foul, the 2nd on Indiana in the half. With Len Elmore, Ted Robinson at Assembly Hall on the Indiana campus. Big Ten basketball. Indiana leading by 12. This is the 21st season that Indiana has played in this arena, and they have lost only 29 Big Ten games in those 21 years.
And obviously talent and coaching has a lot to do with it, but you got to give credit to these fans. These are loyal Hoosier fans, about as loyal and as vociferous as they get.
Street now with 9 points. He also has 9 rebounds, and A.C. Earl back in. But there is definitely an aura that's been created within this conference about coming in here to play. And when you get out of here 1 year with a win, you feel good. To try and do it back-to-back years, as Iowa is here, extraordinarily difficult.
Now the pressure being applied by Iowa, whereas it was contained before. Now they're looking to make some steals, but certainly to slow the Indiana attack now that they feel that they've got a handle on the offense.
Well, Indiana does a nice job of weak side rebounding on those long misses. But here is another block. And back comes Iowa. Down 10. running streak. Skinner is open. Living it out, tip to Moses. And Moses back up and in, and it counts. And Iowa finally clears that psychological hurdle of 10 points.
Well, I'm going to give Troy Skinner a lot of credit. He's not in your screen right now as we see the rebound by James Moses. But Skinner was left all alone, and we mentioned before, Indiana was going to leave someone alone on the perimeter in order to help out inside against A.C. Earl. Skinner was that man, not accustomed to shooting, but he put it up, and that created the opportunity for Moses to get the offensive rebound.
David Bailey commits his third foul, and now A.C. Earl is going to get called for his third foul. So Earl has 3. Bailey 3. And Iowa's within 8. This is the closest they have been since the first 10 minutes of the ballgame.
And obviously they can't afford the lost opportunities. Moses with a chance to close the lead even more.
That's a travel. Anderson could not move there on the baseline. He did. He gives the ball back to Iowa.
Anderson forgot that it wasn't after a make, but after a foul call on A.C. Earl, thus a spot throw-in.
Barnes for 3. No, the rebound to Cheney. Reynolds, it's Skinner. Blocking foul on Skinner.
I'll tell you, that's the second airborne block that's been called. And again, the rule is if the defender can establish legitimate defensive position, both feet on the floor, before the player takes off, and then there's contact, it's a charge. If not, it's going to be called a block.
Reynolds at the line. I talked to so many coaches over the course of the college season when they say that they don't really get angry at officials on that because that is such a difficult call to make.
It is, and I mean, it's such a bang-bang play. And for the most part, on replays, at least in my experience, the officials have gotten it right far more than they've made mistakes.
One miss for Indiana at the line. Barnes has the baseline. It's short. A good rebound by Eric Anderson.
Iowa just can't finish. They're getting the ball in close.
15.
Had a chance there to cut it to 7. 12 minutes and 40 seconds remaining.
Here Indiana exerting a bit of control. They're going to spread the floor against the zone, milk a little time, and get the flashes in the post.
Look at Cheney, eat up some space inside. The shot banks too hard and Street clears it for his 10th rebound.
Quietly but efficiently, Street has made his presence known on both boards.
Earl did a fine job there of holding his footing.
And catching. That was an excellent pass by Street to get it to him.
And against the press, a turnover. That's basket. Moses to Street for the hoop, and Iowa has cut it to 5.
And we told you Iowa can come back on you in a hurry. They score in streaks.
Well, the Iowa partisans, few they are, making a lot of noise. That gets the Indiana students up as Cheney on the baseline hits. That ended a 10-1 run by Iowa. But the Hawkeyes have got themselves back in position.
And one of the things that's helped is that they kept plugging against this Indiana defense. And if you notice, the Hoosiers aren't overplaying the wings as much as they did in the first half. People are receiving. Right there, Moses receives.
Cheney rebounds. Anderson. Look at that tantalizing spin and roll, and finally a drop.
Did you see the crowd kind of lean to the left? All the weight carried the ball in.
Well, the Hoosiers have answered with back-to-back baskets. Barnes in the tough shot. And a crash by Street. He is fouled by Nova.
Talked about Chris Street and his quiet efficiency. This is a guy who continually moves without the ball. He does the dirty work on this team. Sets picks, offensive rebounds, moves the ball. And really, he's the glue that's holding them together as Bob Knight talks to Jamal Meeks to give him some last-minute instructions before he comes in. But you got to give Street a lot of credit. He's part of that chemistry that keeps a team like Iowa moving.
Dover has 3. Indiana now has 4, but a little omen here as we watch Street shoot the free throws line. Last year when Iowa won here, Indiana was up 16 points in the game. Iowa came back to win, and Street had a double-figure rebounding game with 13. Well, Indiana was up 16 in this game, and Street has reached double figures again in rebounds. And now his 12th point brings us to a timeout. Indiana leading Iowa by 8. The HUD game summary. Damon Bailey, the leading scorer. A.C. Earl closing in on double figures, and Iowa in the game despite a low shooting percentage.
Well, Iowa's here because they've been getting some opportunities of late. As I mentioned, Indiana not overplaying as much, and also because they've only turned the ball over once in this half, whereas Indiana turned it over 5 times. So they've been getting more opportunities.
Kevin Smith is back in the game for Iowa, and Meeks is back in for Indiana. So Meeks has a foul line shot, but he gives it into Chaney for 2.
Well, you can tell A.C. Earl is not in the basketball game because there was no hesitation by Chaney that low in the lane.
Albert Chaney with 12. And the Hoosiers have worked the lead back to 10. Nice block from Smith to Winters.
That's a great job of utilizing the talent you have on the floor. Street, an excellent leaper, but not that polished offensively. They get him into the game offensively.
Looking inside again for Chaney. Interesting, Indiana pulls their 2 bigger men out, lets Chaney run from block to block.
It's a question of quickness and movement. Chaney draws fouls using those 2 factors.
Meeks is open. Jamal Meeks drills a 3. First points for Meeks. Smith off. Foul on the floor against Indiana. 9:17 remaining in Bloomington with Len Elmore, Ted Robinson. Indiana leading Iowa by 11. Hawkeyes had it down to 5 for a brief moment. Indiana's opened up some breathing room again as A.C. Earl returns. 5 fouls now against Indiana in the half, 3 against Iowa.
Good help by Chaney. That time Nova hit the ground and Chaney comes across the lane.
Graham, and Smith with a good job to contest the pass, stop the breakaway, and then Smith is called for a foul. That's a tough play.
Well, it is, and I think what happened, both players got hung up. The foul is called on Smith for grabbing, but as we see here, it was Graham who did the holding.
And Smith a little detained with the left arm, but that's a tough foul to call on either party.
Okay. Excellent patience again by Indiana. They're trying to get flashes in the lane and look for the seam.
Look at the rebound. Albert Chaney just took that offensive rebound and put it back in.
And that had to do with flashing to the spot, watching your player take the shot and getting there.
Earl backed over way underneath and is fouled.
See, now I know Calvert Chaney wanted to make a statement defensively, but as he went up to block that shot, I mean, he was swatting as though he was swatting flies. See Chaney here on offense, he got excellent position inside. That's the flashing into the seam area against the zone. But defensively, he probably could have gotten that shot without swatting, and certainly without swatting, he wouldn't have had a foul call.
Earl at the line, the second foul on Chaney. Earl is 4 out of 8. After the basket by Chaney at the other end, Tom Davis immediately got Street back in the game. Well, Earl was warmed up. He's at 4 straight from the foul line, and Anderson throws the ball away.
See the pressure, whether it's half court, three-quarter, or full court, whether it's contain or making the attempt to steal, the pressure wears on a team mentally. And that time, Eric Anderson just made a mental error in trying to get the ball in a place where it wasn't open.
Bill on the baseline. Tough shot. Graham. Chaney. Chaney's has 10 in the half, 16 for the game.
Indiana just making Iowa pay for sending so many guys to the board on offense.
And after the Hawkeyes had cut it to 5, as Chaney helps to knock that ball away. After the lead had been cut to 5, it is now back to 13 with 8:02 remaining.
Iowa substitution, number 11, Troy
Skinner back for Smith.
Kevin Smith, number 10.
Nice catch by Street. There's looking bell blocked by Anderson. But all the players, but all the bodies right underneath the basket, and finally a foul is called in Indiana.
There's certainly no quit in this Iowa team. Indiana playing very physically inside. A lot of bumping. You see here an excellent block by Anderson, not known to be a shot blocker. And as that play continued, there was some bumping going on underneath between Moses and Anderson. Anderson tried to take the baseline away. But what Indiana has done is really taken away the inside game of Iowa. And on the other end, they've scored a lot of points of their own in the paint. So they've more than held their own inside.
Moses hits the front end. It's 7 fouls on Indiana, so Iowa in the bonus. That is interesting, Len, because it is. Anderson's blocked 3 shots himself today. Made it tough on Iowa.
And that was really the fear that Iowa might be tough on Indiana inside with their big people.
Street goes back up too hard, and Nover finally closes.
And I mean, you see an example as the crowd calls for a foul on Street, who out of frustration swung.
And the loose ball out to Graham.
But I was going to mention that was an example the last time down of Indiana's ability to hold their own against a tough rebounding Iowa team.
Anderson staying in the game with his 4 fouls.
And Chaney's calling for the ball right now. That talk with Woodson in May, one of the factors was he wasn't being, quote, selfish enough. That time he wanted it.
Skinner did a good job to strip it away. Moses, jump stop, travel. CBS Sports coverage of NCAA basketball continues after this message and a word from your local station.
CBS Sports coverage of the road to the Final Four is sponsored by United. Come fly the airline that's uniting the world. Come fly the friendly skies. Nintendo, get your daily dose of fun with Game Boy. Have you had your fun today? And by Advil, advanced medicine for pain.
This is the 21st year for Bob Knight as the head coach at Indiana. The accomplishments are astonishing. 10 Big Ten championships in a conference where winning the regular season championship still is considered the ultimate goal.
Well, that's a tribute to the teaching ability and the consistency, the building of a tradition in a family sense for Indiana because of that continuity.
Now, what happened there, Jamal Meek's outlet pass hit the underside of the backboard. That's a turnover to Iowa.
And going back to the accomplishments of Bob Knight, when you can establish that continuity, that family sense, that certainly is going to help you with continuing to win championships year after year.
It's never more evident than when you look over and see Landon Turner sitting in his wheelchair at courtside here at almost every Indiana game. George McGinnis, one of Knight's first players here, is a frequent visitor. Moses. And the rebound to the far side to Chaney. Indiana has had 9 turnovers in the second half, which will be something I'm sure that will be viewed in films throughout the week quite vividly. They've maintained a 12-point lead. Good down the lane by Graham. He is fouled.
See, the cutting now comes once Iowa has gone to their man-to-man. But more importantly, when Iowa is vulnerable a little bit to fouls, particularly getting close to being in the team foul trouble, what's happening is Indiana is forcing the issue, using their quickness to get to those lanes and create foul situations.
Street committing his first foul, 5 team fouls on Iowa.
I'll handle, guys.
Graham misses the front end. Indiana led by 11 at the half, so they've actually gained a point in their halftime lead despite the 9 turnovers.
Now Indiana's gone to a more patient kind of offense, and Iowa's doing a better job on the boards to cut down on the Indiana breaks. I think Iowa has one more run in them before this game is over.
There's 6:10 remaining, and they're down 12 are the Hawkeyes. Moses, nice feed into Earl. He got pinned underneath by Chaney and still got the ball in.
Well, that time he held his pivot foot on the ground. He looks awkward, but he gets the job done.
Those size 18 feet of AC Earl. And sometimes you play him, it's hard to move.
It's a nice foundation.
Whistle inside, the foul on Iowa.
So this is what Iowa has to be careful of in an attempt to play defense. You know, they can't give up some easy ones. They have to be fundamentally sound, and this is not the time to gamble as we see Damon Bailey come in, the guy who's done such damage in the first half. But Iowa is playing better defense. They've got to limit Indiana to 1 shot and then go on the offensive end and do something.
First foul on Moses, 6 on Iowa, so Indiana will be into the bonus in the next foul.
See, I think Indiana loses some of its momentum. They're being very patient right now. But you lose your momentum offensively when you start to slow it down. And if Iowa makes any run at all, it's going to be because of the turnovers coming out of this lost momentum.
Anderson is long on the shot. And the rebound is kept free by Chaney and put in by Nova.
And that's what I meant when Iowa has to limit Indiana to 1 shot. It's heartbreaking when you play good defense and then you give up an easy one.
Nice little flip inside from Street to Earl.
Especially when you have your offense going.
Meeks fans the men out on the wings. Chaney's really had an impact inside the second half, hasn't he, Len?
Well, he has. He's been the guy who has splashed in and out against the zone and against the man-to-man. He's got great moves inside, and as I mentioned, it's quickness as much as size that gets you free.
Tom Davis making some quick changes here. Lookingville and Winters are in at 4:38 remaining. Bailey is back in with Meeks, Chaney, Nova, and Anderson. Chaney again crossing over the lane, and Anderson.
And again, an offensive rebound by Indiana. You can't make a run when you give the other team another chance.
Quickly, Winters, charging foul. James Winters called for the charge, and no basket. So Winters picks up his 4th. Iowa, one of the few quick times down the floor where they looked like they were going to get a basket in transition.
Well, they have. The last couple of times down, they have been flowing into their offense. The problem is, if they had stopped Indiana on the other end, the 3 times when they've given up offensive rebounds, you know, they'd be right in this basketball game instead of down 12.
Now Iowa's going to get Street back in the game. Earl sitting down. Now Tim Higgins, one of the officials, is talking to the scorer's table. Tom Rucker, who called that last foul on James Winters, was accidentally clipped on the head by Winters when Winters reacted in frustration after the foul was called on him. Rucker got clipped on the head, and I think he needs a little attention. So we're going to get a timeout at 4 minutes and 6 seconds to play. Indiana leading by 12. CBS Sports coverage of the 16th Olympic Winter Games will continue later today from Albertville. Hosts featuring the first action of Americans Kala Lubanski and Rocky Marvel, all coming up tonight. Now on the inbounds, Jamal Meeks was very upset with Chris Street, claiming Street was violating the baseline, stepping over the baseline, and there was no call made, and Meeks took a timeout. So we still have 4:06 to play, no change in the score. Bob Knight now wants to talk to Tim Higgins, who is the baseline official. And it was very simple. Meeks felt Street was stepping over the baseline. There was no call. The 5 count was running on it.
Well, certainly if the defensive player encroaches on that imaginary line that runs vertically, if he steps over that line in any way, the officials could call after a warning and tech right there. You see Meeks complaining.
But instead, Meeks took a timeout, which is all right. Indiana still has 2 remaining. And 4 minutes and 6 seconds remain in Bloomington. Indiana by 12.
If I want to keep playing baseball, I'm going to have to keep.
All right, back a turnover by Indiana. Off the inbounds, gives the ball to Iowa. Under 4 minutes, Indiana by 12. Wiggers from the baseline. On and out, but Looking Bill runs it down. Iowa turning the pressure up. Now they need some scores. And they get one. Oh, Smith had an air ball, and Street missed the layup, but Street is fouled and will go to the line.
Right now, the personnel on the floor for Tom Davis isn't offensive-minded per se. You got Moses out there and maybe Street. But Smith, Looking Bill, and Winters are out there primarily for the defense. And they've gotten some opportunities that maybe the guys like A.C. Earl and Barnes would have converted.
Street missing long. Bailey has 4 fouls. Street is at a big game. Brown missed 2, and that really hurts the Hawkeye cause. The Hoosiers back with it in a 12-point lead.
And when it's all said and done, if Iowa loses this basketball game, they can't say they didn't have their chances to get back.
Smith fouling, that's his second, and now 8 fouls on each team. But you certainly can look at 4 foul shots that Earl missed in the first half, 3 that Street has missed here in the second half.
More importantly, count the missed layups.
Right.
And also the second chance baskets by Indiana, particularly in the last couple of minutes where they've gone to the board at least 3 times after missing a long jump shot and some good Iowa defense, and they get the rebound and lay it back in, and all that defense goes down the drain.
Indiana has scored 10 more points inside of this game than Iowa has.
And that's pretty much the difference in this basketball game. They've held their own.
Well, there's a help for Iowa as Indiana misses the front end of a 1-and-1. Neither team shooting their free throws particularly well today. Anderson inside. Anderson has 4 fouls, and now he has 5 fouls. So Anderson has fouled out of the game with 3 minutes and 11 seconds to play.
Now, you never want to take away a player's aggressiveness. But when you got 4 fouls and a guy takes you down low and you're up 12, you have to utilize some discretion.
Anderson fouling out with 6 points and 3 blocks inside. That was important. And now Winters will shoot 2. Winters' father, you see the foul shot discrepancy. Look at the number of free throws. That hasn't happened in Indiana very often this year.
And it's still another case of missed opportunities for Iowa. You make a bunch of those free throws, you limit the offensive rebounding of Indiana, and you make some of your layups, and Iowa's up by 10 in this basketball game.
And they can make these last 3-11 last a long time. 5 count, turnover. Chaney did not get the timeout. And Iowa gets the ball back. And with this pressure, they can make this 3-11 last a long time.
And I think that's why Tom Davis felt that he could keep some of his guys like A.C. Earl and Val Barnes on the bench a little bit longer because he knows his team is explosive enough, particularly in the pressure.
Right into Barnes. Up and 3 for Barnes. So now Iowa's cut it to 7. If you're Iowa, do you let Indiana run this possession out here, Len?
Well, you're going to have to play defense without fouling, and you're going to also have to play without gambling. We have a 45-second clock. It's got about 25 seconds left on it. If you can make the stop here and come down on the other end, get a 3 or a 3-point play, you're in good shape. But Iowa's downfall has been giving up the easy opportunities through gambling and lack of blocking out defensively.
And there's a reach-in foul by Barnes.
That's the gamble. Got to play straight up D.
That's 33 seconds that Indiana ran off the game clock, and then you fouled them.
Right, you give them easy opportunities. If you're going to play defense that long, you might as well string it out and find out what Indiana can do instead of bailing them out.
And that's the 9th foul now against Iowa, so this will be the last 1-and-1 for Indiana. Meeks comes back this time and makes the front end.
Come straight in, guys. Come straight in.
Each team has 9 fouls, so every foul the rest of the way will be an automatic 2 shots. Meeks, a 74% foul shooter, knocks them both down. 2.5. I would probably like to see if they can get Barnes set up again for a 3.
Or get it inside and look to put some pressure with an offensive rebound, but nope.
And now Nover is fouled right away, and if that is on Earl, it will be his 4th. And there will be 2 shots for Nover, and the foul is called on Street instead, his 2nd.
To say time is running out right now for Iowa, and what they have to do after they gain possession offensively is they're going to have to come down and give a real quick look inside. If they don't have it, now they're going to have to look for the 3.
And Nover hits his front end. Indiana 73% shooting as a team from the foul line. Points for Nover, so the lead back into double digits now, and Iowa does not have much time. Long rebound to the far side for Meeks. And Meeks took a timeout as he was trapped in the corner by Winters and by Street. And Meeks took a timeout with exactly 2 minutes remaining. Ted Robinson back at Bloomington, Indiana. The Hoosiers lead by 11 with exactly 2 minutes remaining. And here's the game situation. Iowa has the 3 timeouts. We suspect if they can make 3 baskets, they'll use them all.
Well, they'll have the opportunities, but they have to score in order to make good use of them. And right now, they're having difficulty doing that because of the rush shots.
It's out of bounds off Graham, so Iowa forcing yet another turnover. They have had chances, Len.
And they're getting more, and I can't understand why Indiana, once they get possession, why they're rushing it up the floor, because Iowa ultimately will foul them.
Iowa's going to need to operate a little more quickly in their offense. Street outside. Barnes inside, lost the ball. So the Hawkeyes turn it over. We're down to 135.
Tom Davis is shaking his head. He thought that was a foul from behind. And now he says that's a foul.
And that is on Barnes, his 4th.
Personal foul.
So, you know, you combine lost opportunities with some tough breaks.
So Damon Bailey will go to the line for the first time today for Indiana. Bailey is a 79% shooter. A.C. Earl will come back in for Winters. Bailey has 20 points for Indiana. And now his 21st point opens up a 13-point edge and will make things very tough for Iowa. Here's Earl on the boards, and A.C. Earl gets it for his 16th point. And Iowa takes their first timeout. They have 2 left, a minute 18 remaining for Tom Davis's team. They'll stretch this out as far as they can. CBS's coverage of the 16th Olympic Bloomington. Ted Robinson, Len Elmore, 1:18 remaining, 11 points, which seem to be a long way to go. But Iowa, as you said, can make this last a long time. Do they have enough firepower to overcome that kind of a hole?
Well, thus far, they haven't been able to get set for any shots outside. The Indiana defense keeps Iowa moving and not able to set up for a shot. The other side of it, though, Iowa is bothering Indiana with the pressure. I look for Indiana now, once they inbound, just to gain possession, wait till the pressure clears, at least get away from the double team, and now milk the clock. So Iowa's going to have to foul.
The black of Iowa's uniform stands out very strongly in this building, which is nothing but red. And there, of course, is one of the big hurdles that Iowa has to clear.
Well, that's why they not only have they not been able to get set, even when they do, they can't put it down with regularity. Although, as I said before, they have been known to go on streaks.
Ooh, Bailey almost lost it, and it's knocked out by Iowa. And that was very close to another Indiana turnover. Now Cheney will inbound with 1:14 left. Now Iowa is going to have to foul. They'll let Bailey come through. And a block by Earl.
And they didn't get possession, but...
Well, the only play Iowa had would have seen it, just had to foul right away.
Well, Iowa is still taking a chance that they can make the steal. They're giving themselves a couple of opportunities before they foul. But that shot by Nova, or attempt at a shot, had Bob Knight fly off the bench.
Well, as soon as our game is over here, 53 seconds from now, you'll see continuing coverage of the Olympic Winter Games. Bailey at the line, and with Indiana on the route here to a victory. 2 weeks from today, it sets up a great matchup at St. John Arena in Columbus, where Indiana and Ohio State will meet in a game that will go a long way to determining the Big Ten champion. We'll see it here on CBS 2 weeks from today.
Well, last time those teams met, there were great pendulum swings in momentum. We saw some great players, Calvert Cheney and Jim Jackson, take over the basketball game, and I'm looking forward to that one.
All right, Moses with a basket. Iowa timeout at 45 seconds to play. 18-3 mark, they'd be 8-1 in the Big Ten, and even with Ohio State atop the conference. And Leonard has become a 2-team race in the Big Ten. This will drop Iowa to 5-4. Every other team other than Indiana and Ohio State in the Big Ten will have at least 4 losses.
Well, certainly it's not unexpected, because Indiana and Ohio State are pretty much the cream of the crop in that league. But Iowa's made it interesting.
Our Chevrolet players of the game: Chris Street from Iowa, the man that his teammate A.C. Earl has dubbed Vladi. Plays like Vladi Divac. And Calvert Cheney of Indiana. Checking the amount of $1,000 will be donated to each college's general scholarship fund to further assist qualified students in all chosen academic fields.
Calvert Cheney just did a great job in the beginning of the second half of posting and getting the opportunities inside and getting to the free throw line.
Knocked away there by Street, but Graham retained it. And now finally a foul on Moses. His third, and Greg Graham will get 2 free throws at 37 seconds.
Ever the teacher, despite being up 11 with 37 seconds left, still pointing out deficiencies and trying to motivate his guys.
He has had trouble doing that a couple games this year. They have played some games here particularly that have bordered on perfect basketball.
You know, sometimes you take a look at Graham, who missed that shot. You know, certainly Graham probably didn't focus on that shot as much as he did on Coach Knight's instruction.
There's Graham, a 77% foul shooter, has missed 4 in this half. He is missing. Cheney rebounding. Moses takes it away from him and is called for the foul at 27 seconds.
Well, Calbert Cheney at 6'6". I mean, he went in and battled Street at 6'9" and A.C. Earl at 6'10", and he was the guy that was off the ground, which surprises me. Neither Street nor Earl left the ground for that rebound.
He replaces Graham.
Now Reynolds back in. Don't forget, as soon as our basketball game is over, to France for continuing coverage of the 1992 Winter Olympics on CBS. And Calbert Cheney. Oh, this game is done. As Tom Davis looks on, his team will have a 4-game winning streak snapped here today, but that winning streak has positioned them to make a good run at getting into the 64-team field.
And when you saw him looking forward, I'm sure that's what he's looking forward to after this game.
Their big game was the win Thursday at home against Michigan State. Those are the type of wins they'll need to make the tournament.
Yeah.
Now the final seconds ticking off. So Indiana took the control of this game with an 8-point run in the first 4 minutes. Iowa cut it to 5 very briefly, and Bailey cans a 3 to close it out. 26 points for Damon Bailey today to lead the way. Bob Knight's team goes to 17-3. Our final score, Indiana 81 and Iowa 66. Later today, CBS's coverage of the 16th Olympic Winter Games will continue from Albertville, Florida, Iowa 66. This has been a presentation of CBS Sports, home of the NCAA Basketball Championship.